What's up, gang? It's Jay coming at you from the woods, and we are spending the day out practicing different recon and observation techniques out here in the field. And there's multiple ways about going about doing it, and a lot of it just depends on the situation, depends on if it's just for a couple of hours or if it's for overnight. It may vary on what it is that your mission is, like what is it specifically that you're looking at accomplishing for that observation period, and why are you doing it. So you have all those things that kind of play a role there with how you're going to go about doing this. So here, real quick, I am set up here just for a couple of hours on an overlook. I'm on a ridge line, but I'm just behind the ridge line. So literally, like, my eyesight is just about even with the top of this ridge, and anybody from down below on the other side of things, they cannot see me from down there, but I can see down over them. So there's a trail. So as you can see from that, I'm from down there, nobody can see me. I'm behind this nice small hemlock tree here. I'm leaning up against a hemlock tree, and it kind of helps cover me a little bit from all of this. Really blend in really well, actually. But so being able to view all of that, because with that trail coming in, I'm able to observe anyone coming from either direction. And there's also a trail that goes straight out into a private development that that a lot of folks use too for passing through the area. So what our mission is, what we're looking for here, and these are a few things to pay attention to when you go out to do any kind of recon or observation, is there needs to be what is your mission? What is it exactly that you're looking for, right? So and I'm gonna drop some things from the different professional citizen books because I think it's very relevant and it helps with understanding it all better. But you don't want to send people out into the woods or wherever to do something, to observe something, if they don't know why. Like, what is it we're looking for and why are we doing it? So you don't want them to bring back or report in worthless information if it's not relevant to what it is that you're doing. So they're going to call it, in the military, they'll call it a PIR, or it's Priority Intelligence Requirement. So this helps to clearly define what they need to look for. So in this specific case, what we need to look for is people. How many people are coming and going? Which direction are they coming from? We happen to be, and this goes hand in hand with your PIR, is your NIA, or your named area of interest. All right. So then that named area of interest, this is the space, or this is the area where we are trying to detect the presence or the absence of who it is you're looking for, the enemy, let's say, in this specific case, right? So those are the two things that it's extremely important, because without a defined reason, then there's no reason to go out and do it, right? We're not just going to come down here just to watch the trail. What are we watching? What are we watching for? What are we looking for? Why? Who? Those need to be answered before you even go out on that mission. So this is extremely important. And then with that, you're going to be able to determine, okay, what kind of observation post do I need to set up here in the woods or in town? There can be an urban environment, rural environment, whatever it may be. I happen to be in a rural environment here. So this comes to the point of what is an observation post, okay? An observation post, or an OP, is plain and simply, it's a static concealed position that you can either use to provide early warning for a stationary unit, defensive position, fixed site, or neighborhood, or it is used for gathering information while observing a recon objective. Plain and simple, right? Those are very clearly defined as to what that is. Now, what is an OP not? What does not an OP qualify for? It's not a fighting position unless you really messed up somehow. If you really messed up, then it may become one, but it's not designed to be one, and it's not technically a rest area or a or a remain overnight area or a campsite. All right, I think you see a lot of guys combine those out there in the internet, where they combine those two things together. They say they're setting up an observation post, but they're setting up a campsite. So they're not one and the same, right? So it's, certainly keep that in mind so that you understand what it is, because it is a very specific thing. Things that an observation post must have. These are things that, and remember guys, I'm going to interject, I'm learning all of this along with you. So I'm sharing my journey as we learn how to do this. An observation post must have a bigger picture. Why are we watching this trail system through this park system for people coming and going, right? Why are we doing that? An OP requires observers. It's me today. It requires some sort of security, so some kind of security measures put into place for, maybe it's maybe you have an overwatch somewhere. Maybe you're operating out of a patrol base. Maybe you set up security measures like perimeter alarms or whatnot. Security can be your personal armament, firearms, things of that nature. You need a clear purpose from the mission and what the intent of it is, right? So here, our intent is to be able to identify people coming and going. Count how many are coming and going. Are they out walking their dogs? Are they kind of sneaking and peeking between places? Are they carrying trash bags? What might it be? Maybe it's hunters coming through poaching. So those are things to look for, because we're just trying to find out who's coming and going and how many. Communications. We need to have the means for being able to communicate outside of that observation post. So, usually that's going to be your radios. It can be in we're operating in a world today where people are able to send emails, text messages, phone calls, things like that. Keep that in mind. So that is kind of your basis of what an observation post must have here. And this is all, guys, this is all available to you out there with the, this is actually straight out of the Professional Citizen Project's CM-2 on Reconnaissance. So this is, all this information is right there. They lay it out. Jack does a great job of laying it out really clearly. So now when you're coming in and setting up those OPs, it can be anything. It can be a hasty position, which you're just setting up for a couple of hours. I'm using that as an example right now. Or it can be a more permanent position where maybe you're going to be here for an entire day. Maybe it is going to be for a couple of days, so you're really digging in and setting up a more elaborate observation post. I mean, you can see a couple pictures up here of some larger observation posts that you can occupy for a couple of days, or maybe you're rotating people out. Maybe you're rotating observers out, because let's face it, two guys observing, you can only do it for so long before you just zonk out and you can't do it anymore. So that's certainly a consideration, right? And there's no perfect way. There's guys who practice this, and it's an art form that you can practice it for years and years and years. There's guys that are just, this is what they did for a living, right? They have it down to a science in the art form that it is. So that's important to keep in mind. So it takes getting out in the field and practicing. Go out with a buddy and set one up, and both of you go away from it and see how well if you can detect it, how well your observation skills are for watching him, so on and so forth. They can even just be out, and maybe you're trying to figure out how many deer are within a confined area, a certain area. It's important stuff to do. So same reason why I like, bringing up deer hunting, guys set up game cameras, right? Trying to figure out what deer are coming and going. That's an observation. Basically, they're setting up a mini observation post that they're operating remotely. So that's a great way of looking at that. So when you're planning an observation post, you really want to make sure, once again, we identify the purpose of it. What are we doing? Who are we communicating that information to? How are we using it, right? So that's important stuff to understand. You want to be able to convey that to whoever your scouts are that you're sending out, what they're looking for, as we mentioned a few minutes ago. It's extremely important. So don't send them out without a clear idea. Have a clear idea. It's very, very important. And then there's a big one here that is the why. Why are we doing this, right? So why are we doing this? Why are we setting up an observation post to watch these trails for people? Well, in this specific scenario, there is a huge rise in crime in the area. and it's due to the homeless camps that have set up all throughout the area. Well, we've been figuring out that these vagabonds, or the homeless, are part of a larger pseudo crime network that are hitting businesses and neighborhoods by utilizing these trail networks. All right, and in this specific area, this trail network is connected by a whole series of park systems that run all throughout the city. I mean, we're talking miles and miles and miles and miles of trail systems. And we think they're using that trail system to stay out of sight, because the trail system here in these parks, they aren't used a whole lot. They may be used for a mile or two off of all the local trailheads, but when you really get in and off the trail a little bit, most regular people aren't using them. So our purpose here is to identify, if we can identify those criminal elements that are using them, and which direction they're coming from, and how many, what times of day they're coming through, so on and so forth. So today happens to be a perfect day for this, because it's like 30 degrees. It's been snowing on and off, and it's supposed to get windy later on. So like these kind of weather conditions are perfect, where if you're up to no good, if you're the enemy and you're trying to work your way into something, you know that in poor weather conditions, most people are staying hunkered down inside where it's warm and dry. Well, if it were me, these are the kind of weather conditions I would be out moving in, because my chances of detection are a whole lot less. So it's a great opportunity to get out and try to look for that, right? So so that's what we're doing for the whole observation post here today. So this is just a hasty one, which literally, guys, requires no more than a radio, a pair of binoculars, right? So we have our binoculars, we have our radio for communicating, we have maps. So, and this is all readily available on my body. So we have, if I can, of course, get my map out, right? So I cannot recommend enough. You have seen Brent0331 talk about this. Everybody should have some sort of a Write in the Rain notebook, little notebook set up for writing things down, taking notes, all that good stuff. So we have our Write in the Rain notebook. We have different colored pens, pencils. I have a red light in here. And then I have in here my map of the area that we're checking out. I also have in here range cards. So this way I can write out and draw out what it is exactly that I'm looking at. I can sketch out the terrain, the trails, and take notes on that. I have a cheat sheet, and remember, guys, we're all still learning here. So I have a cheat sheet for sending spot or salute reports. So this is important too, because those of us who don't do this for a living, that we're still learning and practicing, it's great to have a little cheat sheet. And you can write it all down on there and then erase it. So these are great to have. So that is like your bare bones basics of tools. And then I have, obviously we have other kits. Then we have other things. Like number one, we have our personal camouflage on, right? So I decided to go with, and you'll see in this picture up here, I have, coyote brown bottoms. I have a green top, green and black gloves, a green hat. I have a natural earth tone colored sniper veil to wear. And that's just my bare bones on body stuff. So you have your base kit as well. Obviously, you should all have your base kit figured out by now. You really should. So we've gone over that in prior videos, obviously. So you have those base things there. And then in a little bit, we're going to go over the a full observation post if you're building a more permanent site or spots, everything that's involved with that. So stay tuned for that. We'll get to that here in a moment and cap this off. Stay tuned.